Imagine a world where signs are all around us, but few can see them. Have you ever stopped to consider whether events that seem casual might actually be warnings of something much greater? A humble nun of the 20th century, living in a distant village in Poland, received messages that decades later still echo through time, pointing to a future laden with spiritual and moral challenges. These messages were not simple visions. They were urgent warnings and prophecies that spoke of mercy, divine justice, and imminent dangers for humanity. What makes these revelations even more impactful is that many of them seem to be coming to fruition today. Saint Faustina Kowalska, known as the Apostle of Divine Mercy, dedicated her life to recording these visions and warnings in a diary that has become one of the most influential spiritual works of the Catholic Church. Her words are both an invitation and a warning for humanity to awaken before it is too late. Today, we will explore Faustina's messages, her signs, and what they may mean for the world we live in. If you want to understand how these revelations directly impact our lives and prepare yourself for the spiritual challenges that lie ahead, subscribe to the channel now to follow content that can transform your perspective and your faith. Saint Faustina was not someone who sought attention or recognition. Born on August 25, 1905, in a small village called Głogowiec, Poland, she grew up in a humble family, surrounded by religious values that shaped her life from childhood. From a very early age, Faustina demonstrated a profound spiritual inclination, marked by her devotion and sensitivity to divine matters. However, her journey was far from easy. With limited formal education and facing economic hardships, she decided to follow her calling at the age of 20. Joining the congregation of the Sisters of Our Lady of Mercy. It was within the convent that Faustina began to experience mystical events that would change her life and potentially the future of humanity. Between 1931 and 1938, she received numerous visions of Jesus Christ, who conveyed messages filled with mercy, but also warnings about what was to come. The most striking of these visions occurred in 1931 when Jesus appeared in her cell, dressed in white, with red and white rays of light radiating from his heart. In that moment, he entrusted Faustina with the mission of spreading the message of divine mercy to the world. This mission, however, would not be easy. Faustina faced skepticism, criticism, and misunderstandings both inside and outside the convent. Despite this, she remained faithful to what she believed to be a divine calling. Under the guidance of her superiors, she began recording all her experiences in a diary, which was later compiled as the Diary of Saint Faustina Kowalska, Divine Mercy in My Soul. This document is not just a recounting of her visions, but also a source of profound teachings on God's love, mercy, and the urgent need for spiritual conversion. Faustina's diary conveys clear messages that the world is living in a time of mercy, but this period will be followed by a time of divine justice. In her words, Jesus expressed the urgency for humanity to reconcile with God while there is still time. "Before I come as a righteous judge," he said to Faustina, "I open wide the door of my mercy. Whoever does not want to pass through this door will have to go through the door of my justice." These words are a powerful reminder that the time to act is now. One of the most recognizable symbols of Saint Faustina's message is the image of the merciful Jesus, which was painted under her guidance based on one of her visions. The painting depicts Jesus with rays of light emanating from his heart, symbolizing the mercy and life he offers to humanity. This image has become a venerated spiritual icon for millions of people around the world. Additionally, Faustina was instructed to establish the Feast of Divine Mercy, celebrated on the Sunday after Easter. Jesus promised that those who confess and receive the Eucharist on this day would have their sins completely forgiven and their souls renewed. Faustina's messages were not limited to instructions on divine mercy. She also received remarkable prophecies about the difficult times that would precede divine judgment. These visions spoke of signs that would be visible in the sky and events that would deeply shake humanity. One of the signs described by Faustina is a light that would emanate from Jesus' wounds on the cross, serving as a final invitation to conversion before divine justice is manifested. According to her words, this great sign would be a last chance for humanity to reconcile with God. However, Faustina also warned that many would ignore these signs, living as if nothing were happening. She described a society marked by spiritual indifference, where materialism and the pursuit of immediate pleasures would replace moral and spiritual values. This spiritual coldness, which she called an inner darkness, would be one of humanity's greatest challenges, leading to a global crisis of faith and morality. Another notable aspect of Faustina's messages is the warning about corruption, especially among religious and civil leaders. She wrote that pride and the thirst for power would become tools to distance people from God, generating a crisis of trust in institutions and deepening society's spiritual estrangement. These warnings, though disturbing, also carry a call to action. As long as the time of divine mercy has not expired, there is still hope for change and redemption. Faustina emphasized that prayer, sincere repentance, and works of mercy are fundamental to facing the challenges ahead. The prayer of the Divine Mercy Rosary, taught directly by Jesus, is an example of this. This prayer, which can be recited with a traditional rosary, contains words that call for forgiveness and salvation, not only for the one who recites it, but also for all of humanity. Faustina reported that Jesus promised special blessings for those who recited this prayer with faith, especially at 3 p.m., known as the Hour of Mercy, in memory of his death on the cross. The prayer of the Divine Mercy Rosary has become one of the most widespread spiritual practices among devotees of this message, symbolizing a direct bridge between humanity and divine love. However, Saint Faustina also stressed that mercy is not limited to prayer. She emphasized the need to live a life centered on acts of mercy, both spiritual and corporal. This includes helping those in need, consoling the afflicted, visiting the sick, forgiving others' mistakes, and, most importantly, praying for sinners. For Faustina, these actions were not just demonstrations of kindness, but concrete means of strengthening the spiritual connection with God and preparing the soul for the times to come. Faustina's visions also brought to light the theme of suffering. She wrote that Jesus revealed to her the redemptive value of human suffering when offered with love and faith. Faustina was encouraged to accept her own pains as a way to intercede for humanity, a calling she embraced with courage and devotion. This perspective may seem challenging, especially in a world where pain is often seen as something to be avoided at all costs. However, for Faustina, suffering was a path to sanctification and an opportunity to be closer to God. One of the most impressive aspects of Faustina's messages is the prophecy of a great visible sign in the sky. She described this event as a final appeal to humanity, a moment when no one could deny the existence of God and His mercy. However, even in the face of this unmistakable sign, she warned that some would still choose to ignore the divine call, thus sealing their eternal destiny. This warning reflects the importance of free will, which, according to Faustina, is a divine gift, but also a tremendous responsibility. Moreover, Faustina's messages emphasize that God's mercy is not unlimited in terms of time. She warned that after the period of mercy, a time of divine justice would come. This period, detailed in her diary, would be characterized by global tribulations, including natural disasters, conflicts, and an unprecedented spiritual crisis. Faustina wrote that these events would be both punishments and opportunities for humanity to awaken to its dependence on God. It is impossible to ignore how many of Faustina's warnings seem to be coming true in our time. The increase in spiritual indifference, moral decay, and global conflicts are just some of the signs that reflect her prophecies. However, her messages are not solely warnings. They also bring a message of hope for those willing to listen and act. Faustina firmly believed that through prayer, repentance, and a life based on mercy, anyone can find protection and spiritual guidance, even in the most difficult times. A central element of Faustina's messages is the call to sincere repentance. She emphasized that conversion is not just a change in behavior, but a profound transformation of the heart. This repentance, according to her visions, is essential to regain God's grace and prepare for the spiritual challenges ahead. Jesus revealed to Faustina that humanity is often distracted by pride and vanity, moving away from his love. He asked that everyone recognize their flaws and seek reconciliation with sincerity and humility. Another important point in Faustina's messages is the unwavering trust in divine mercy. She wrote that Jesus encouraged his followers to trust in him even in the face of the darkest adversities. This trust, according to Faustina, is the key to overcoming spiritual challenges and maintaining faith in times of uncertainty. The message is clear. No matter how difficult the circumstances, God is always present, ready to offer his love and forgiveness to those who seek him with an open heart. As we explore Faustina's messages, it is impossible to ignore the impact her life and visions have had on the Catholic Church and beyond. Her diary continues to inspire millions of people around the world, offering comfort and spiritual direction amid life's difficulties. The Feast of Divine Mercy, established by Jesus through Faustina, has become a significant event in the liturgical calendar, attracting crowds of faithful seeking spiritual renewal. But Faustina's legacy goes beyond religious practices. Her messages serve as a powerful reminder that divine mercy is within everyone's reach, regardless of their failures or weaknesses. She believed that as long as the time of mercy was still available, there was hope for redemption for all humanity. However, her visions also make it clear that time is limited and each person is called to act now before it is too late. Faustina's prophecies about the future are not just a warning, but also an invitation to reflection and action. They challenge us to reconsider our priorities and seek a deeper relationship with God. In a world increasingly marked by distractions and materialism, Faustina's messages are an urgent reminder that true peace and happiness can only be found in connection with the divine. If you want to learn more about how these messages can impact your life and how to prepare for the spiritual challenges that await us, be sure to follow our content. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any updates. These messages could be the key to transforming your life and finding the peace you seek. Returning to the central messages of Faustina, one point that deserves emphasis is the importance of the present moment. She wrote that Jesus instructed her to live each day as if it were the last, seizing every opportunity to love, forgive, and serve. This teaching is especially relevant in an age where so many people are stuck in the past or worried about the future, forgetting that the present is all we truly have. Faustina also highlighted the importance of recognizing the signs around us. She wrote that these signs would not necessarily be supernatural or spectacular, but could be perceived by those who are attentive and spiritually vigilant. However, she also warned that the ability to recognize these signs requires a deep connection with God, something that is becoming increasingly rare in a society dominated by distractions. The signs described by Faustina are not just warnings about the future, but also reminders that divine mercy is always available to those who seek it. She believed that as long as the time of mercy had not come to an end, there was hope for humanity. However, this hope requires action. It requires each person to take concrete steps to reconcile with God and live according to His will. Saint Faustina also spoke about the essential role of prayer in spiritual strengthening and seeking divine protection. For her, prayer was not just an act of devotion, but a powerful tool of intercession. In her visions, Jesus revealed that fervent prayer could even alter the course of difficult events and bring relief to humanity in times of tribulation. This idea is reinforced in the prayer of the Divine Mercy Rosary, where each word carries a profound plea for forgiveness and redemption, both for the one praying and for the entire world. The hour of mercy at 3 p.m. was highlighted as a special moment of connection with Jesus. According to Faustina, it was at this time that He gave His life for humanity on the cross, and for this reason He promised to pour abundant graces upon those who turn to Him in prayer at this hour. Faustina wrote that Jesus asked people to use this hour to meditate on His passion and offer their own pains and intentions to the Father as a way of uniting their sufferings with the sacrifice of Christ. This practice is not only a form of devotion, but also a way to find strength and consolation amid difficulties. Another central aspect of Faustina's messages is the need to act with mercy in daily life. For her, mercy should not only be received, but also shared. This concept is reflected in her actions as a nun, where she sought to help the most needy, both physically and spiritually. Faustina emphasized that true mercy goes beyond words and is manifested through concrete gestures, such as feeding the hungry, consoling the afflicted, and showing compassion for sinners. She believed that these actions not only transformed the world around us, but also prepared our souls for the encounter with God. Faustina's messages also address the concept of spiritual preparation. She wrote that Jesus warned about the dangers of living an unprepared life, focused only on worldly pleasures and concerns. For Faustina, this preparation is not just about avoiding sin, but about cultivating an intimate relationship with God through prayer, repentance, and trust in divine mercy. This spiritual readiness, according to her visions, would be crucial in the times of tribulation described in her prophecies. One of the most impactful visions recorded in Faustina's diary is the description of a period of great spiritual darkness that would precede the end of the time of mercy. She wrote that many hearts would become hardened and cold, completely ignoring God's call. This distancing would result in a society marked by moral and spiritual chaos, where selfishness, pride, and greed would take the place of divine values. This vision, though bleak, also carries a message of hope for those who remain faithful to God, as they would be strengthened and guided by His mercy. Faustina also reported that Jesus spoke about the persecution His followers would face in the final times. He warned that those who choose to live according to divine precepts would be marginalized and even ridiculed. However, Jesus encouraged His followers not to be discouraged, reminding them that these difficulties would be an opportunity to witness their faith and persevere in God's love. Faustina believed that through this perseverance, the faithful could inspire others to seek divine truth and mercy. Another fascinating point in Faustina's messages is the promise of divine protection for those who fully trust in God. She wrote that Jesus assured that those who surrender to His mercy would be supported even in the most difficult moments. This protection does not mean the absence of challenges, but rather the certainty that God will be by each person's side, offering strength, consolation, and guidance. Faustina also emphasized that this trust requires humility, as it is necessary to recognize our limitations and depend entirely on divine grace. Faustina's prophecies also carry a strong warning about the importance of discerning the signs of the times. She wrote that the signs of divine mercy and justice would not be hidden, but many would fail to recognize them due to a lack of spiritual vigilance. For Faustina, the ability to perceive these signs requires a deep connection with God, something that can be cultivated through prayer and sacramental life. This spiritual vigilance is presented as a way to be prepared for what is to come, without being surprised or deceived by the world's distractions. A clear example of how these messages can be applied to our current world is the increase in spiritual indifference. Faustina warned that spiritual coldness would be one of humanity's greatest challenges, leading to a distancing from God and a weakening of faith. This phenomenon is evident in many parts of the world today, where religious values are often set aside in favor of material and temporal priorities. However, Faustina's messages remind us that it is never too late to seek reconnection with God and renew our faith. Additionally, Faustina's messages offer comfort and direction to those facing moments of uncertainty and fear. She wrote that Jesus assured his mercy is available to all, regardless of their past failures or sins. This promise is a powerful reminder that even in times of difficulty, there is hope for those who seek God with sincerity and repentance. Finally, Faustina's messages are an invitation to reflect on our choices and actions. They challenge us to consider how we are living our lives and whether we are prepared to face the spiritual challenges that may arise. For Faustina, the key to this preparation lies in trusting divine mercy and being willing to live a life centered on God. She believed that by doing so we can find peace and purpose, even amidst the world's uncertainties. If you've reached this point, it's because you feel that these messages have something important to say. Don't let this opportunity go unnoticed. Subscribe to the channel now and activate notifications to continue following content that can transform your life and strengthen your faith. Don't wait for the clearest signs. The time to act is now. Click on the video that appears on your screen and discover more about how Saint Faustina's messages can guide your spiritual journey and help you face the challenges that lie ahead.